Your host, Kiev O'Neill,
This is Kyle Hunter.
and we have a great show for you today. Lots of college football going on. As you can see, I've got my Wisconsin gear on, seeing we have a huge game tonight versus Illinois. A little revenge for the fans, anyway. I don't know what the players are going to think, but I got to tell you, Kyle, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm really excited too. I love seeing the odds board with all the Big Ten and the Mountain West games. I mean, seeing a bigger board of games is pretty nice. I know we had college football earlier this year, but it looks a little bit more normal this week. And for myself, obviously, I'm really excited about Ohio State being back, and you're really excited about Wisconsin being back. And I think there should be some pretty good football.
Yeah, there's going to be some really good football this week, and lots of Rondale Moore was just listed as a scratch against Purdue. So a lot of crazy stuff happening at the end here. But we got this far, so let's see how if we can keep going, Kyle. So anything at the weather this week?
So, as you look at weather, at least for a late October weekend, it seems like there's not going to be that much weather. I know the Minnesota and Michigan game, people wondered, it looked like there could be some snow. It looks like it's just going to be cold for that one in the upper 20s. Some people like to take unders because it's cold. I don't think that makes very much sense. If it's windy, then you can take an under with the cold, blustery conditions, but it doesn't really matter if it's cold for a total. So you want to look for wind, precipitation. The two of those together is really good for an under. Some of the other games, Lubbock, Texas Tech, a little bit of wind, 13 or 14 miles per hour. That's pretty common in Texas, so I don't think that's anything out of the ordinary. I will note that in the NFL, Kansas City and Denver looks like a snow game. Not a lot of wind, but a snow game there, and we've seen that total come down already. I think that total will probably come down a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so too. Denver can switch back too. It's
Right.
pretty interesting. But people will look at the cold and then bring the total down. But you're right, the cold shouldn't be a reaction, and all these players are bundled up with energy of flying. Man, they're going to be ready to roll here. And well, you know what? Let's get right into some of these games then, bud. Oklahoma. I picked Oklahoma versus TCU to go over because there's definitely some sharp movement on it according to this screen. But in my opinion, I did want to point out I don't think it's that sharp. It went from 5.5 to 6.5. And I think it was mostly public driven. You can see 53% of the tickets are on it, but 85% of the money. But if it was really that sharp, it would have hit the 7 on Oklahoma. I think a lot of people are just kind of sitting out this game. You know what's funny about this is both of these teams actually beat Texas, and both of these teams actually lost to Kansas State. Pretty ironic there. The total on this game is 59 and a half. It's kind of hovering right there. The fact that it didn't get to 7 is kind of telling to me. You know, the old Oklahoma would have blew away 7 by now. There's a lot of money on other games. I think people are just passing it up. Oklahoma this year is only a point 0.7 yards positive yards per play, point 0.7 net yards per play. That's kind of weird for an Oklahoma team, right? Under Lincoln Riley, especially after 4 games that they played, 2-2. The bye week might help them here, and maybe people are going to hit Oklahoma because of it. But my power ratings actually has only Oklahoma 3.5 point favorite. So, not that I want to fade Lincoln Riley with the speed he can play with. When they play faster, it kind of adds to the spread a little bit. But TCU has a very bad D, and they give up 6.6 yards per play this year. Man, it's pretty brutal. Do you have any thoughts on this line or game?
Yeah, a couple thoughts on this one. I think that, if you look back in the last few years, as good as Oklahoma has been, you've made money fading them ATS. So Oklahoma has been a team that their lines have usually been inflated a little bit. If this one got to 7 or higher, I would be looking at TCU here. My numbers have Oklahoma by 5. I think TCU usually has a good game plan for Oklahoma. I think Gary Patterson tries to keep the ball away from Oklahoma. TCU's defense should be better than what they've been so far this year. I would assume their defensive numbers are a little worse than what they'll look at the end of the season. Patterson's really a defensive minded guy, especially good secondaries normally. So, Oklahoma doesn't look like the same team they've been the last few seasons either. So if they start getting too much love, I would look to go against them here at 6.5. I'm not going to be interested. I do think it's interesting to say that, why has this total gone from 64 down to 59 and a half? I think that's a pretty big line move. I also think it's indicative of what kind of game state we might see here. I think TCU, while they usually play quickly, I don't think they want to play fast and get in a shootout in this game. So I think Patterson's smart enough to know that we don't want a 42 to 41 type game here. So I think TCU probably tries to slow the game down. We'll see if it works or not.
Yeah, let's see. And the line move happened early. It's been hovering around 59 and a half for a while now. So it's just weird. It tells you that why would you bet Oklahoma here? I think the public's going to be on Oklahoma. You might get your 7, Kyle. Hell, maybe you'll get a 7.5 on Saturday. We'll see. We'll see what the bettors are thinking. Let's move on to a game that I think you're going to key in a little bit on, Kyle, this weekend. The Buckeyes are playing Nebraska. Nebraska is going to Columbus. The spread has been just stuck at 26 points, minus 26. It's been stuck. The total on this game was sharp. It went from 64 and a half to 68 and a half. 50% of the money is on or 50% of the tickets, it looks like, was on the actual over, but 94% of the money was on the over. I'll try to bring that up for you guys here on my screen. Going a little slow here. So 52 and 92 as of this moment. So, Kyle, this is a big game. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I'll start out by saying that I'm such a huge Ohio State fan. I'm fans of quite a few teams, the Bengals, Ohio State, kind of like the Cavs, teams like that here in Ohio. But Ohio State, I'm such a bigger fan of them than anybody else.
I thought
State
it was
football,
I thought it was the Bobcats because you're wearing Bobcats hats the last couple times, Kyle. So you
Well,
sure?
I mean, you see that the Bobcats got demoted a little bit here this week, so the Buckeyes go back to the front. Now, I
Of
mean, I
course.
like Ohio okay too, but Ohio State's my team, and what I try to do is I usually try to avoid betting Ohio State games. The reason is I'm so invested as a fan that I hate to have multiple emotions throughout the game. I usually try to stay pretty level-headed, but during Ohio State games, kind of the bet's off on that. So I can get pretty fired up during those games. But I try to be really fair in my analysis of Ohio State. I think that this line, if anything, I would have taken the over. I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't at least take a personal play on the over here at the beginning. I think that Ohio State will try to play really quickly. Fields being healthy. They've got plenty of weapons, a good offensive line. I don't think Nebraska's defense can stop them here. So the question is, can Nebraska score some points? Ohio State's defense isn't as good as it is last year, at least to start this season. They lost some key parts. So I think Nebraska will be able to score enough. And we know Nebraska plays quickly too. My lean would be on a side here. I would lean toward Ohio State. I think Ohio State is going to want to blow teams out this year if they can. They haven't had near as many games as normal. I think this is going to be one of those years where, I mean, you saw it last week with Clemson. Some of those top teams are not going to take their foot off the gas. I think Ohio State will want to try to win by a large margin here. Maybe Nebraska's a little bit better than what they've been in the past, but I think Ohio State's in a different class there.
So, and if you've listened to the odds breakers, I did give this out as a free play over 64 and a half. It's at 68 and a half now. And at this point, it would be a lean to the over for me. As a matter of fact, if I got a gap the size of 70 and a half, I would consider buying back for half of that play, just because of the variance there. And that's what the numbers say to do. Sometimes you just got to do what the numbers say to do, no matter what. And you're most likely maybe it's going to go to 74, 80, whatever, and you're going to lose it. But more often than not, as far as making money, you want to try for some of those middles, some of the time and release some of your exposure. At least you're guaranteed 1-1 or 2-0. When you do that, it's not going to be an 0-1 type game. The weather cleared up for this game. Nebraska returns a ton of offense, ranked second out of all the teams, according to Bill Connolly's ratings. Over 92% of their offense they return. Ohio State, of course, they return their quarterback, which is huge, and Justin Fields. Him and Trevor Lawrence, in my book, are the best two quarterbacks in college football. That just tells me they're going to score anyway. I don't care who's out there. It's just kind of like putting Aaron Rodgers with some normal receivers, he's going to put up points. It don't matter. So that's why I like the over so much. The question is Nebraska going to score? And I think they are. This team 2 years ago kind of came back. I don't know if they came back, but I know the game was a lot closer than it should be. Last year was a blowout in Nebraska. But this could be that third year when, a lot of people are happy with Nebraska for what they did to get the Big Ten back on track. It was a lot of their pressure that they put on the Big Ten to say, hey, let's have a football season here. I think they wanted it because they know that they're good. And Scott Frost was hired for a reason. You might see a little bit more, I guess, consistency on the offense. Last year they would suck and then they'd be awesome. It's like, where was this the whole game? You might see a little bit of that. And for that reason, I lean to Nebraska at plus 26. It's not a play for me because Ohio State is definitely the top of my power ratings, and I have Ohio State winning this game by 23 points. But if someone told me to make a bet, I would take Nebraska and just see if they can, they can even put up a garbage touchdown or something.
Yeah, I will say that Nebraska, Ohio State as well, fought pretty hard for this season. And think it's interesting if you look at Nebraska's schedule. I mean, gosh, they got a brutal schedule, especially to start the season. So no favors done for Nebraska here. Ohio State plays that really big game at Penn State next week. You could argue a look ahead, but I don't think you look ahead near as much when you have such a short season.
Right on. Let's move on to a crazy spread, Kyle. This game blew my mind and I looked at my power ratings and it just wasn't quite there for me like it is, but I'm still not going to bet it. Houston versus Navy. It was at 13 and it was hit and it was a sharp side, moving it to 14 and a half here. I'll see if I can find that game on my screen here. 55% of the tickets are on Houston and now 74% of the money. It was higher before. It's a little bit of buyback at the 14 and a half here. I don't understand. My power ratings have it like an 8. And Navy, maybe I didn't move them down enough, Kyle, but you look at Houston, they beat a bad of the year and they blow the game against BYU. But you know what? I watched that BYU game. And I'll tell you right now, I was holding that BYU ticket, and at halftime, I thought it was freaking shot. Houston looked like a Power 5 good team. I mean, they're big guys, they're fast, they're athletes. Clayton Tune was in tune that game, at least the first half, man. And then all of a sudden, they just Dana Holgerson type blow it. I don't know what the heck happened to them. But I was happy because I had my BYU ticket, of course, but it just scratched my head. And I think that's part of the reason why you see this. Navy, when they played Temple, they were outgained by over 100 yards, and they still won that game. It was more Temple's blunders and terrible red zone efficiency that screwed them over. Minus 1.84 yards per play for Navy. That's awful on a net yards per play. Houston at least is positive 0.6 yards per play. I think the misleadingness is what the sharp bettors saw immediately. And even though I only have it by 8 in my power ratings, I would be scared to bet Navy. And I probably still, well, at least at 14, I would bet Houston. But, man, I have no play on it. What's your thoughts?
So my power ratings on this one are Houston by 13. I think that this is a game where if I had to bet something in this game, I'd probably bet the over. And Navy's going to have their quarterback back, I believe, here. Houston, I like you, I watched that game. I had BYU in that game, and I kind of felt fortunate to win that game. I watched almost the entire game. And you and I even texted back and forth a little bit. The refs were terrible in that game. That game took awful. 4 hours or something. It's like, I'm trying to do my work to get ready for the next day and watching the game. And it's just, there's reviews for 15 minutes constantly. Houston looked like a really good team early on, like you said. BYU actually jumped out to a 14-3 lead, and then Houston just dominated them for the second quarter and part of the third quarter. And then BYU finishes the game on 21-0 run or something like that. Houston, some very questionable coaching decisions in the second half of that game. I don't think Holgerson's a guy that is all that good. I know he's a good offensive mind. Kind of seems like his defenses are a problem. And there were some play calls at the end of that game that were really confusing. They had one where they did you remember the play where they gave a delayed handoff, a draw, and it took about 6 or 8 seconds to happen, and the guy got tackled right as he handed it to him. It was like,
Yeah,
I don't
it
know
was
what happened there.
it,
Yeah.
it was smelled out so quickly. That's what
I
it
mean, I
was.
appreciated it like you did, but it was one of those where I don't know what they were doing.
They were
I think
driving when
that,
that happened too.
yeah, it was a. I think Houston has a lot more talent and speed than Navy does. So in this one, speed wise, I think they could give Navy a lot of trouble. I don't see Navy slowing them down very much. Clayton Tune has been known to turn the ball over quite a bit, which is a question mark here. I think both teams will score. I don't think Navy's going to be stopped consistently by Houston. At a total of 55, 55 and a half, I'm going to lean to the over here. I'm going to stay away from the side. Like you, if it was below 14, I think I would have probably leaned toward Houston.
All right, man. Well, fantastic. We got to lean to the over. And before we get into the NFL, we have to give out our college team that's most likely to win as a dog. And Kyle and I have to pick a game that's at least a +3.5. It's kind of like what we discussed before. We're not going to say give you a +1 or +2 dog, most likely to win. You gotta at least have something on there, right? In the money line, +170 or so. So, I'm going to go first, Kyle. And there's a couple of them that I actually like. But I'm going to say Rutgers is most likely to beat Michigan State. And the reason is I think that Greg Schiano, you're going to see a completely different looking team here. And you're not going to recognize them minus maybe the quarterback if it's still the same starter. He's there, but they have some other options there as well. They have some great transfers in, a couple from Ohio State. They have Cruikshank from the Badgers. And Schiano is just a much better coach to me than Mel Tucker. Mel Tucker used to be a Bears defensive coordinator. You know where the Bears got him? From the worst defense in the league, the Jags. And then he happened to turn the Bears into the worst defense in the league. And this is like back in 2012, 13 type thing. And I was shocked that he got a head coaching job right away after being at Georgia, running around with 5-star athletes. I'm not even sure if those athletes needed to be coached that much in Georgia. Then he goes to Cal, and Cal had the 82nd ranked defense. That's like in the group of five level, right? And I'm like, why is Mel Tucker getting the Michigan State job after one? He leaves those kids after 1 year to hop to Michigan State. And Michigan State, there's been some rumblings out there as well. They have a whole new team too, or they might still have Rocky, their quarterback. But man, I think Rutgers is a live dog here, Kyle. What are your thoughts on it?
I was almost sure you were going to take mine here when you started to say what game it was going to be, and I was about to say, "Damn it, Kia!" No, I figured you were going to say mine, but I will say as far as this game, I think Michigan State's going to be really bad. So I think Mel Tucker is not a good coach. Michigan State's talent is way down too. Their defense has been excellent the last few years. They lost just about everybody. And like you said, they have a quarterback who has played a little bit here in the past, but he's been bad when he played. I mean, I don't think it's really a big positive that he's there because and he hasn't shown us that he's any good. Do I trust Rutgers a lot? Of course, I don't trust Rutgers a lot, but at the same time, I think this is a good sneaky play here where there's quite a few things that could happen in this game, and I don't know exactly what the price is on this money line, but it has to be pretty big. So I think this is a risk that's definitely worth taking. I like this one quite a bit for the price that it would be at.
And that's what I went for, is huge price. I mean,
Right.
Rutgers could get blown out.
Of course, yeah.
They can get blown out, and then you'd want to fade Michigan State the next game. But
Right.
this is just one of those situations where something smells, and so that's what I like. What's yours, Kyle?
I like Missouri against
All
Kentucky.
right.
Not quite as bold of a call. I wish this one was still bigger. It was 6.5 or 6, and now I think the money line now is maybe about +170, +165. Still a pretty good price. Kentucky's not as good as they look. They keep getting these defensive touchdowns. Wilson, their quarterback, is not a good passer at all. If you watch Kentucky's games, it's either a screen pass, a 5-yard pass. He cannot throw the ball downfield. I think people are going to figure that out sooner or later. And I think that if you stop Kentucky from running, Kentucky's offense can't do much of anything. Kentucky does have a pretty good defense. But I have to say that I've been impressed with Missouri so far. I think they have a coaching staff upgrade this year. I think this is a pretty good spot here for Missouri also, with Kentucky coming off that really big win over Tennessee. That's a big game for them. So I think this is a difficult spot for Kentucky, and I think Missouri has a real chance to win this game.
I like it, man. Good call on that. A couple other barking dogs just to throw out there. Not saying I did or didn't bet them. South Carolina's barking a little bit with Miles Brennan out for LSU, and that's a +6. UTEP is really interesting to me. They were so bad for the last couple years, but hey, man, I gotta tell you, they beat some FCS teams, and then they beat the heck out of Louisiana Monroe. And so, does that mean they might have a +15 shot at Charlotte? Who knows? So just want to give you a little teaser there. UTEP is an interesting team to me because they are so low on the power ratings and they might have gained, which gives you a lot of value if that happened. Not saying anything else, but I think that is one to look at, Kyle. Let's move right into the NFL then, my man. We have a couple games. Seattle versus Arizona has been shifted into the spot, and I did give Arizona out at them on the podcast. So if you didn't listen to the podcast, well, there's a free play for you there. Arizona +3. I took it at +110, and the way I look at it is this: you're getting a home dog. You're getting a home dog with apparently a pretty good coach so far in Cliff Kingsbury. He's proved that he's pretty good. I don't know what Texas Tech is thinking right now. And you also have a good quarterback in Kyler Murray. Now, is he always accurate? No, but he's definitely got legs. They shifted the time on this, which even makes me like it a little bit more. It doesn't matter so much for the home team, but as a road team, you might have been like, I can fly back, I can do this with my friends, I have dinner. This could throw their mind way off when they're traveling on the road when the shift happens like that. More importantly, for some reason, Arizona's actually got more yards per game than Seattle. And I don't know how that is, but you look at the stats, that's what it says. And Seattle's defense is the worst in the league. You know, the only reason you saw money, and there is sharp money on a little bit of sharp money on Seattle, and it kind of kept it off the flat 3, which is good for me, I guess. 61% of the bets are on Seattle, and 86% of the money. I disagree with that. I disagree hard with that. I'm getting a home dog here. I'm getting +110, and I never argue with people that have plus money on any bet, especially in the NFL. So, in my opinion, I think Arizona's a live dog. I could be wrong. It's a short week for them. That's why you're seeing some of the money come on them. Any thoughts on this game, Kyle?
I don't know what to think on the side on this game. I don't like Arizona as much as you do, but at the same time, I kind of think Seattle's a team that I'd like to go against at some point. So I think that Seattle's not as good as a lot of people think they are because of that defense being so weak. So you could be right on this one. I just don't know if Arizona's the team that I want to take against Seattle or not. I think I lean to the under in this one. Was hoping I'd get a 56.5. It looks like that might not happen. I think Arizona will probably try to play keep away a little bit here. I think they should. At the same time, I don't know how much I trust Kyler Murray to throw the ball. I know he can run really well. The Seattle secondary is not very good, although they have gotten healthier. I think that Arizona's offense has been a little inconsistent for me. Even in that game against Dallas, they weren't really that good on offense. That was more about Zeke and Dalton just kind of handing the game away. So I'm kind of indifferent on the side here. I would lean to the under, if anything.
All right, DeAndre Hopkins, baby. We'll see what he does at home here. I think if Kyler Murray play action runs it and fakes the pass and play action runs it, I think he's going to get a lot of yards there. Maybe a prop bet on Kyler Murray over his rushing yards. That'd be something interesting to look at, too. Yeah. All right, well, we only have a couple minutes here. So Chicago versus L.A. L.A. -6. And I'm a Chicago Bears fan, so it's just like you with Ohio State, Kyle. I did want to bet the Rams, but I mean, watching your team beat the Rams straight up when you play the Rams, it might take that little happiness off it. I don't want that to happen.
Right.
But yeah, at the same time, you had your sadness, right? But 54% of the tickets on LA, 61% of the money. It was at 6, and my power ratings has this at exactly 6. This is a terrible spot for the Bears. They went to the East Coast. Now they're going all the way to the West Coast. It's a good spot for the Rams to bounce back after that horrible game. They know how to play the Bears. Last year they won 17-7. Jared Goff was just getting rid of the ball every 2 seconds. You don't want to face Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack without getting rid of the ball every 2 seconds. That's what happened to them last week. If you watch the 49ers, they had Jimmy Garoppolo get rid of that ball so Aaron Donald won't be in his face every 2 seconds. That's what did it. I think that they're probably going to learn that. And I lean Rams -6. Any thoughts?
No thought really on the side. I think I kind of like the under. I wish I would have gotten the 47. If you look the last couple times these two teams have played, it's been really low scoring, and I don't like taking a real low under in the NFL, so that's why I haven't bet it at this point. But I don't think Foles is very good. I don't think anybody thinks he's that good. I mean, other than the Eagles moment, which I like Nick Foles, but he hasn't consistently been good. Robinson's tremendous. Chicago has weapons. There's no doubt about that. But Chicago's defense has been really good. They weren't quite as good last year. Now this year they've been really good again. I think
Efficient.
yeah, definitely so. And the Rams defense is good enough. I think I see this as more of a 24-17 type game than I would something higher. So I think I like the under a little bit here.
All right, well, there you go. Well, after saying that, what is your free pick for better odds sports betting?
So my free pick, I'm going to go back to college here real quick. Miami minus the points here against Virginia. See 13 and a half. Virginia's banged up. Quarterback questions. Virginia is not the same team they were last year with Bryce Perkins. Miami's certainly a much better team than they have been, so I'm going to lay the points here with the Canes.
All right, well, my pick's going to stay with Rutgers here, and I'm going to take the plus 13.5. Obviously, sprinkle that money line a little bit because I said that is the most likely dog that I think that's going to hit for the value of the money line, plus 470, plus 500, whatever it is there. God, that'd be a really nice sprinkle there. So that's my play, and I'm either going to be really wrong or really right about this, Kyle. Where could our viewers find your information?
So go to huntersportspicks.com. Also, if you haven't already, sign up for the Free Picks newsletter there. Send a couple free plays every single week. Send you some sharp information, things like that. And also follow me at Kyle Hunter Picks on Twitter. I'm going to do a contest for some cash here this weekend. So if you're not already following me on Twitter, at Kyle Hunter Picks.
Oh, contest for cash. That sounds good. And make sure you check us out at theoddsbreakers.com. We always have free plays. We always have betting information. And obviously, we have a lot of information and plays for our members. Everyone have a fantastic weekend and make sure you enjoy all these games.